Coming to you from SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index?
Is it, though? I mean, the title's different. There's no guest. What is going on here, Elliot?
Well, we've got a special announcement today, BT.
Gasp.
We are launching a Patreon.
That's right. You can go to patreon.com/SideQuest Studios and support all of our shows, including The Simpsons Index, Thrones of Game, and Pulp Fury Radio.
Yeah, that's right. You know, we love making podcasts for all of you. We've made hundreds of hours of podcasts so far, and we absolutely loved the response to Pulp Fury Radio Season 1, and we want to make Season 2 bigger and better, but with making these sort of podcasts, there's a lot of overhead and running costs, and we'd absolutely appreciate your support in helping us do that.
Yeah, so your support through Patreon means not only covering some of that overhead, but also supporting the actors and artists that help us out on various projects, especially Pulp Fury Radio. But Elliot, no one wants something for nothing. Tell me, what do the people get?
Well, BT, you can go to patreon.com/SideQuest Studios to see what we're offering at all of our tiers, but the one I want to focus on today is the exclusive podcast that you will unlock if you subscribe to our $5 and up tier, and the podcast is Except When He's Not.
Yeah, this is the show where Elliot takes me through all the episodes of The Simpsons that I missed when I wasn't on The Simpsons Index.
Because, you know, you are here most of the time. You know, I like to say you are here as always. Except when you're not. So yeah, once we're done with this announcement, we're actually going to be giving you the first episode of Except When He's Not for free. This is BT's review of My Sports. So yeah, you're getting a nice little tasty teaser of what you can unlock on our Patreon.
Oh, I see. You start them off with a free sample, then you jack up the price.
Pretty much.
The Simpsons taught you well.
So thank you again for your support. That's our spiel, and I hope you enjoy the first episode of Except When He's Not. Woo! All right, bye. Coming to you from the SideQuest Studios exclusive Patreon feed. I'm Elliot J. O'Neill, and this podcast is called Except When He's Not. And here, as always, is BT Calloway.
Ahoy, hoy.
And that's about as much of the intro that I've figured out so far on our inaugural episode.
That's right, that's okay. I have a song.
Yay!
Yep, just gonna have to lay down a beat in my own brain. Now, this is a story all about how this podcast got twist turned upside down. It'll take like 20 minutes. Just sit right there. I'll review all the episodes when I wasn't there.
Nice.
Rhyming there with there, motherfuckers. Be scared, Will Smith.
Were they at least different theirs or same spelling?
Same.
Yeah.
When I'm there, when you're there. Unless you want to sit right there, EIR. That's going to be awkward, but I don't tell you how to live, audience.
Yeah, we tell you how to live by telling you to keep listening to this podcast and not give up on it yet, even though you might be already regretting your spending.
Does the song get better over time? Do I change it next episode? I don't even know. This is all just wilderness of which you're exploring with us.
Yeah, so the basic premise of this show is, BT's going to be reviewing the episodes of The Simpsons that he wasn't there to review on the Index proper. Mm-hmm. And starting out today, we've got an episode from the Disney era, Season 30, Episode 17, My Sports. First reviewed on The Simpsons Index in Episode 149 with Stephen Woody from Ultra 64. BT, what did you think of this episode?
Man, this was a mixed bag, mostly bland, but occasionally bad. But was it bad enough? We'll see. Yeah,
so because this is the first episode, I'm going to explain what's going on a little. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, I'm probably not going to be giving many opinions because they're already out there and, at risk of repeating myself. So, yeah, we're going to put 20 minutes on the clock by going, Siri, could you please put 20 minutes on the clock?
Sorry, I can't manage clocks here.
What? Siri, can you please put a timer for 20 minutes?
Okay, 20 minutes and counting.
There we go.
Did you say please?
Not that time.
Well, I mean,
she was so rude the first time. Oh, I can't do that. I'm like, well, how about if I phrase it like this?
Right. I guess we got to hurry up. We got a time limit now.
Oh, yeah. So for better or worse, what's a moment that stands out to you?
Man, I feel like this episode showed it was really going wrong as soon as they kind of shoved in this extra Lisa B plot, where she's all like, Dad and Bart are going to South Korea, and I've always wanted to do that. It's like, have you? What? And it's like, I want to go to the place where they do the salt mandalas. Like, you can do that shit at home. It's a philosophy. You don't have to go to the place for it. It was so weird, and it kind of just shoved in. And I thought at first it was going to be spending all the time with Bart, spending your time with me, which was very late to bring it to the game. Or I thought it was going to be about her saxophone, that she's had this passion, I'm not going to say her whole life, but the whole season, the whole series. And, you know, Homer's never taken an interest in it, but suddenly Bart gets a hobby and Homer's all about that. But it's not. It's about going to see these mandalas. And then you can do it at home. And there's literally an art attack about this.
Yeah, salt is one of the cheapest things at the supermarket.
Yeah, so just...
as long as you're not getting any of that pink Himalayan shit.
No, oh wow, no. You don't draw with that. That stuff is delicious. Do they cook with the salt after they draw with it? Because that would be a waste otherwise. And I'm assuming Buddhists don't waste things.
Yeah.
I guess they just draw with it again. But
yeah, sure.
Yeah, but they're defeating their own purpose with this, because the whole idea is to teach you not to be attached to material things. But what they're forgetting is the mandala was the friends we made along the way. It's the journey that they're going to be doing again and again, because they're enjoying the process of it, not the completed effort. So it's still a thing in the physical world that you can learn from watching any movie about their friends taking a journey. And that's what I liked about this episode, Elliot.
Well, one of the things about the Lisa story as well is that you're right. It's totally not set up as well. Apparently Lisa, I guess it's sort of set up because of her Buddhism past, but not really. But there is almost part of a B story going on at the start with her, I'm going to act up, and then it doesn't happen. Yeah,
and that could have been way more interesting, but it just, doesn't happen. It just felt like no one knew how to end this.
Yeah.
And they just okay, Homer needs to shut off the power. Okay, why? He's, I don't know, doesn't care anymore. But why would he not care? He's suddenly zen for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, then I guess he's zen because of Lisa. Throw something like that in.
Yeah, it was a very weird end to this episode, which, I don't know, I thought it had some momentum, the whole esports story. How did you think I handled that?
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting angle. It's a new thing that I feel like they actually almost understood. Like, they definitely had some of the terminology and at least a concept of what it was going on. They're obviously parodying Dota. So that's something. I mean, they usually when the Simpsons take on a new technology, especially, or a trend or whatever, they just have a very surface level understanding of what's going on. This felt, at least someone had done some research. They may not have got it, but they looked into it a lot.
Yeah. Even though, I wasn't a huge fan of a lot of the jokes around it, I did think, aesthetically, it looked like Dota, it looked like League of Legends and all these sort of games,
It was identifiable. Bart's PC is very identifiable as being a high-end gaming PC. The lingo, if it wasn't accurate, sounded accurate, and you have to understand what you're parodying to get that across. So that aspect was going well. And then they had that whole thing with the other coach guy who comes in, and it's not bad, it just keeps going and going and going, and it felt like 20 minutes. Yeah, it's just
and there's not really any jokes there, is there? It's more about his character.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of a joke where he goes to pee and he's giving commentary of pro hacks for peeing, that kind of thing. That was okay, but I literally wrote down many times, it's still going. And I mean, it starts off with, Homer starts with, are you ready to train until that thing you can't stand anymore? And they're like, maybe. And it's all like, okay, sure, this is time for a montage. Nope. This is why you montage, because doing everything slowly is boring.
Yeah. No, it was such a weird character. And segueing onto that, how was the wackiness of this episode? Did you like the wacky cartoon elements?
I mean, I guess the wackiness was mostly Homer's dream about the other fathers who pushed their sons too hard and achieved success, and then extended it out with a song.
And even announced it.
Yeah, which was, at first I thought that was going to convince Homer he'd been pushing him too hard, and I was like, but he hasn't been doing that yet. But it was the other way around. They were like, push him harder. But then Homer didn't.
Yeah.
He just was like, no, I am doing the right thing. And that was odd because we kind of already did that when he had a discussion with Marge about, you're going to tell me I'm doing this too hard, I'm pushing Bart too hard. She's like, no, I think this is actually, you're spending time with him. It's something he enjoys. I just want you to remember to actually father him when you're coaching him. Like, way to have an actually realistic conversation, Simpsons.
Yeah.
But we've basically done it twice. We've done it when Marge tells him to do it, and we do it again when the dream tells him to do it. And that dream also takes a fair smack of time.
Yeah. Oh, doesn't it just?
Yeah. So again, it wasn't awful because I didn't hate any of it. It was just like poorly paced and poorly planned because we've done this already.
Yeah, it was very exhausting. What about all the cartoony stuff in Korea when they get over there?
Oh man, I barely even noticed because at this point, we've switched energies of this episode entirely. It's where it loses that kind of forward momentum for the esports, and it just becomes things about Korea and technology real quick. And I kind of like in the background, there's a Simpsons animation studio. That's something, I guess.
And the MASH reference?
Oh, man. Yeah, this was dumb. When the power goes down and the esports gets cancelled for some reason, they don't go, oh, well, we'll just boot up and do this again in an hour. Sorry, everybody.
I have a feeling they're referencing, and I'm very sure I said this in the original podcast, they're referencing an actual event where they kept having server issues during this massive tournament, and they had to restart several times, and it ended up taking a whole day, and League of Legends or whatever had to really pay a lot of the fans in-game currency and stuff to sort of keep the goodwill.
But that's the opposite of what happens here, because they're like, oh, the power went down once, no refunds, fuck everybody. And it's like, that would not happen at all. No.
No, and it was really weird, and
it felt like just running for an out.
Yeah, and for what is essentially a Simpsons Go to Korea episode, which also essentially feels like Simpsons whiteboard writing, they really rush through a bunch of it.
Yeah, I mean, just cut some of that early laggy stuff for this Korea part, because there are parts that work okay. I like Nelson opening up the minibar fridge and like, Pringles, pretzels, it's like a Thanksgiving dinner in here. Yep. Like, that's, Nelson, his poor joke that's actually well structured, if a bit, poor Nelson. But then there's a bit where Homer is FaceTiming Barney, who's asleep while driving, and, like, I have no idea which one called which.
It's so... what?
Yeah, it's just there, and I have no idea why. I'm glad you also was equally confused.
Yeah.
But then I do like when Homer's there, and he does the mandala and has a Zen moment, and then it's like, 3 Zen minimum. So that was a pretty good gag. I got a chuckle out of that.
Yeah.
I don't like the Buddhist being like, oh my god, he's the new Buddha. It's like, but this isn't a plot point. You're just saying it. But I like the follow-up of, I feel really bad, I stole his shoes.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Mixed.
Especially because, small dude, really oversized shoes. Very good animation moment.
But then this whole riot police thing didn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't know. What are they saying? I do like there's one that's like, there's like a giant robot that's like, grief counselor.
Yeah.
That's okay. But then it's just chaos. And honestly, it is just them sprinting to an exit. They're
Absolutely.
like, we have like 4 minutes. We have to do something. Here, take this.
Yeah, and when they spent so much time with Marge and her Salt, it's like, there was definitely a lot of fat to be trimmed from this episode to give it a more satisfying ending.
Weird to like spend so much time padding and then rush the end. It's like you had the time. You just needed to space it out a little bit more.
What about the emotional moments, the hearts, the bumps?
Nah. Because again, you could have, because Bart's actually good at this thing and he's succeeding and Homer's actually trying, which is nice, I guess. I wish they'd kind of gone with a bit more of an angle, because there's a bit where Homer's like, kids are all like, do we get uniforms? I was like, no, you don't get uniforms. You're the scrappy underdogs that people will root for. And I kind of wish he'd brought more of that. I've seen enough movies like this to know what to do, even though I don't understand what it is you're doing.
He just goes full Walter Matthau in Bad News Bears.
I mean, I haven't seen that movie, but sure.
It's pretty cooked, but it has its moments.
Yeah. But I like the idea that he just take all the sports movies he's seen and just give a rousing speech, even though he has no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
That would have been funny and would have said something about his helicopter parenting as well. He doesn't actually get it, but he gets he has to push. And so he's just pushing, even though he doesn't understand. There's something there, but I mean, Bart does well, and
there's no conflict between him and Homer ever, really. They never fight.
Also, doesn't the team now have $500,000? Because they win the first one, which is $1,000, and they're like, but now we qualify for the Nationals, which is $500,000. Or was that meant to be the final? Was there no cash prize between the one that was in Springville Elementary and the one that was in South Korea?
I guess the one that was in South Korea, like, it's just a wash because it got broke up by a riot, Yeah,
but I mean, they played a different tournament in between, which surely had escalating cash flow.
Oh, absolutely. They definitely skipped over a few League of Legends tournaments.
But then again, Bart has an Oscar, and that never comes up.
Yeah.
So.
Well, actually, they did have the match with the Calgary. I missed the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that another really good animation moment
Canadians,
in there.
where they go to pour the maple syrup. It's like, it's coming.
I'm pretty sure that was our only dual audible laugh in the whole thing.
Yeah, no, that definitely, that got me good.
Yeah, so the emotions are a bit of a wash. And, just about the animation as well. Like, Homer looked weirdly off-model the entire episode.
Really?
And I think it's just because his nose was a bit shorter. Like, his other cheek was just, like, invading his head more than I've ever noticed before.
A hostile take over his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, his face is coming off. That's not the quote.
No.
Did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
So I just remember thinking about the emotion and the fact that Bart doesn't say anything after losing. Like, he doesn't even get mad at Homer, as far as we know. All the other team members are mad at him, but he's just sitting there like, oh, this one thing I loved is over now.
I guess he has a Zen moment himself.
That doesn't look
screen.
like, that does not look like the face of Zen. I'm just, I'm no expert in inner peace, but that ain't it, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
It felt like bits of cardboard puppets just moving that look like The Simpsons. All the pieces are there, and some of the ideas are there. I mean, Bart getting enthusiastic into a thing, and then Homer getting involved, but then nothing happened with these pieces. They were just there, and bewildering.
Yeah, any particularly off-character moments or anything, or...?
Lisa losing her shit.
Yeah.
Was like, oh, no, I'm just hanging on by a thread. Oh, I'm going to fall. Like,
yeah.
What?
This was so fucking underdeveloped, undercooked, and just like, now I'm going to explain that I'm feeling emotions about this now.
And she's just like, emotions!
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how emotions work. Yeah, really weird moment. And yeah, just sprinting to an exit. That's all I've got. It's like, so they had to set it up, and they're like, okay, Lisa wants to go to South Korea because of reasons. Yep. And she's really upset all of a sudden out of nowhere.
But yes or no, would you watch this one again?
I mean, background, I'll walk past it and go, oh, this one. But I'm not going to seek it out. I'm not going to put it on. I won't sit down if I have other things to do. Laundry, maybe,
Yeah, look, I'm going to save the gif of that maple syrup joke because that's fucking hilarious, but that's about it.
Yeah, the good parts are so few and far between. Nah, I think even on a laundry episode, I'd want something with a bit more entertainment.
But what would you like to change about it? How are you going to improve this episode?
Stick with what was working, which was all the esports stuff, and then Bart, getting hyped up and Homer getting involved but not understanding how or why, but it seemed to work, and he's just like, I'll just fail upwards, and just stick to that. Like, having this whole extra Lisa thing is just, it undermines what little was already there. This wasn't a great episode to begin with, but it was fine. I was having a good enough time. It was whittling away the hours.
Would you keep Korea?
Yeah, expand it, if anything, man. You've got space, like we said, if you just cut it out. Or maybe they get to sub-Korea, because maybe getting to Korea is too much. Remember when this was a show about a mid-level family and their struggles in life, Maybe, you know what? Fuck it. Maybe the Simpsons need to sit down and go, now what would Bob's Burgers do?
Yes.
Like, how do they, because they keep it small town every time. I don't even know if they've ever left that city. It's always been just a family doing something absurd, but it's always been grounded after, 9 seasons?
Yeah, like...
The Simpsons had gone to space by now.
Yeah, I guess, the furthest they went out is that seaplane episode, and it was just a quickie kiss at Island.
Quick kiss it.
But yeah, what about the second coach, the denominator or whatever his fucking name was? Would you keep him?
No. Well, I mean, if anything, cut that to a montage or just your best bits, but it just went for so long and had so little to it.
Yep. All right. Yeah. We're almost at the end. Any other notes?
Yeah, why is Bart shaving? Like, I get their idea is all gamers are just, unwashed things, and how do we show that? I guess Bart's growing. No. They call it Conflict of Enemies. That's almost funny. Like, it's such a bad title that I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Lisa behaving badly, where she's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go tear up my homework. And, actually, I could redo this bibliography. That does need tearing up. That was okay. There's a weird line delivery from Homer after she says, I could behave badly. And he's like, oh, yeah, right. You're like,
yeah.
What? And it wasn't that extreme, but it was way off, the usual voice. It was like, what just happened?
No,
he hit second puberty.
And some of the ad buttons on this was really weird. Like when Lisa goes, I'm going to go write in my happy diary, and Marge is like, you do that, ad break. What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and there's this cutaway to where Lenny's meant to be doing a trust fall with Homer, but Homer's not there. It's like, wait, is this a flashback to when Homer wasn't there? Or is this a currently occurring thing? Or
because he hangs up on work later, I'm assuming he's just missing work during this whole time.
I do too, but then why is Lenny falling backwards if he knows no one's there? God, this is your own fault, Lenny.
Yeah, and what more hacky, overdone joke than the trust fall exercise?
I almost like the Homer freaking out about, wait, you get $1,000 to play games? Yes. $1,000? Yes. To play games? Yeah. Like on and on. Didn't quite land it, but like the concept of this would be something that just blows Homer's mind in the same way it would blow my parents' mind to find out esports were like a big paying thing.
Yeah, I wish it was more his disbelief rather than his stupidity.
Yeah,
Cause,
I think that's what I want.
Yeah, because I reckon the button of him arriving at the school is like, you could get $1,000. Like, it should have been like, I still can't believe this is true.
Yeah, or just constant shock of 1,000 for video.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, bewilderment rather than stupidity.
Mm-hmm. And I almost kind of like the bit where he's inadvertently bribing Marge. Like, he uses Bart's winning to buy a pod machine, and then she's like, oh, it almost fills the cup. How European.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't quite lean into it enough, and it goes for too long as well when they're just explaining everything. It's like, oh, by the way, Bart's in esports, but coffee. And it's like, okay, yeah, I got it. You can make this faster. It'll be funnier.
No, and because it's information we've already heard, it's so redundant.
Yep. Again, I wrote this bit's going on for that bit. So, yeah. But I also do like when, the other esports coach attitude, or whatever the fuck his name is, Destructoloid, whatever, is all like, he could be one of the biggest in the country, bigger. The galaxy, smaller.
Yeah, that was a good riff.
Yeah, that was fine. Yeah. That was quick and witty.
Yeah, that's what makes it, like, you get so much time back by getting rid of him, but there were, like, some of the episodes better material from it. Like, I'm taking AP. What's that mean? It's gamer talk for AP. Fuck, I had something to say about that. Anyway, never mind.
No, whatever.
Okay.
I was about to shout pew pew pew, but wrong podcast.
Renegade?
I mean, do we get to be renegades here too? Do we just renegade everything? Listen to Thrones of Game. Anyway. Yeah, no, I really like the idea of pushing the underdogs thing, and like things like Homer has learned from sports movies makes way more sense to me.
Yeah, well, especially because it's been established that Homer's passionate about football. And because there is a degree of strategy in the NFL, like that maybe he could translate over to conflict of enemies, possibly.
Not even a bad reason why he's a good coach.
Yeah.
Like if it was because he forced them to play, or he took them out of school to do this, and then they naturally got better because they were doing it more. That would be something, but he just seems to be good at it. Or if they were or Bart was actually coaching them, or Nelson was threatening to hit them if they didn't win. Anything that kind of explains why they're doing well.
Yeah, they really just succeed with no real obstacles.
Just like in real life.
And because the game itself that we're watching is kind of obtuse, like...
Yeah, it's not clear what they're supposed to be doing. It's
so it doesn't feel like there's ever anything wrong with it. All right, we're down to the final minute.
Boom.
So I think the way we'll do this is I ask you, BT, what you would have ranked it. We won't be entering it into the official index. No. This will be its own little mini
Patreon exclusive.
I should do a Patreon exclusive spreadsheet.
We like spreadsheets.
So first question in this: what would you rank it?
Participant. Look, as much as I had problems with parts of it, nothing was bad enough to really make me angry about it. Just more bewildered that a certain degree of effort had gone into parts of it and was just void from other parts.
Yep. All right. And what did you think the trio of me, Steve, and Woody all together, what do you think we ranked it?
All together, I'm going to say shiny participant.
Shiny participant. This episode got a dull bronze.
Oh, really?
Yes, I was a bronze. I don't really agree with that anymore. Like, if I was doing it now, I'd probably go
that was going to be my question to you. Do you feel the same as you did then?
Ooh, remember that. We'll do that for every podcast. I definitely would have bumped it down to participant, but I seem to remember struggling with that one. And Steve went participant, and Woody went bronze, equaling a dull bronze all round.
Nice.
So for those that were wondering why we decided to pick this episode in particular for our first one is because looking at all the episodes that BT wasn't there for, there was only one episode from the Disney era so far. And so going forward, selecting it at the end of the podcast, we are going to roll a D3 to figure out if he's going to watch an episode from the HD teens or classic seasons, 3, 2, 1. And then he'll roll a D20 because in each category there's about 20 episodes to pick from. All right, so BT, can you roll your D3 for me, please?
Well, I can, but first, Elliot J. O'Neill, I'd like to ask you a question. Would you continue? Would you still rank this what you did before? Have your opinions changed at all on this second or possibly third viewing? I don't know how many times you've seen this. Shut up.
No, this was only my second time. I haven't seen season 30 a lot. Only the times we've reviewed it, actually.
Yeah.
Look, I'd probably bump it down to a participant because, like, obviously I came in knowing what I ranked it, and I was like, trying to justify it while watching it. That was a weird experience, and I'm like, I don't think I could, but... you know, the ranking's the ranking, and I always say that, you know, we may not get it exactly right, but I think our rankings kind of orbit where the episode should be.
That's fair. And, you know, I think this one in particular, because it is kind of laggy and you know the payoff doesn't work, is going to be harder in a second watch because at least the first time through you have a big question. But more importantly, that means that BT was right.
Pew, pew.
Yes. We'll
All
get
right.
some vuvuzelas, whatever they're called in.
Vuvuzela.
Vuvuzelas. I always get that wrong, and it's always charming.
All right. So, what's your D3 saying we should do?
Oh, well, let's listen. That's the sound of a 3.
A 3. So, that'll be the HD era, of which there are 18 episodes to pick from. So, I guess 19 or 20 reroll.
18.
Oh, there we go. So, the next time we do this, we'll be doing Fears of a Clown. I think that's the one where Krusty tries to do legitimate theatre.
Theatre.
All right. Well, until then, I've been Elliot J. O'Neill.
I've been BT Calloway.
And
This time I was here.
yes, cool sign out.